Hello. Welcome today. This is Welcome to Livingston, and I'm Angela Putkela.
And I'm Don Putkela.
And our guest today is Trisha Turner with the Turner Design Group. So learning a lot about landscaping and checking all that out. So of course, this is the podcast Welcome to Livingston, put on by the Putkela Group. And it's so exciting to bring in different guests every week. That's part of our community. So, Trisha, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your company.
So we are a landscape design build company. So what that means is we can complete design services as well as installation. We do maintain beds, so we do not cut grass. So we're a landscape company that can maintain your beds. We also provide consultation services for more of the DIYers. And sometimes those DIYers want a landscape plan, so they kind of have a roadmap to know what they're going to be doing and to not do things twice. So we provide that service too.
Awesome. Well, this is great because it really gives a lot of options, no matter what your skill level is or ability to, since there are a lot of people that
Right, because a lot of people, I think the biggest thing is a lot of people have no idea where to start.
Sure.
Maybe they'll talk to their person that cuts their grass who may or may not know anything about landscaping. Right. So that idea of being able to call you up and say, I have a yard.
But as a specialist.
Please help me.
And fellow Michigan State alum.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. Go green, go white.
Yes. Yeah. So, but that professional training, I mean, that must have been kind of fun to really delve into and learn about all of those things too, right?
Yeah, and it kind of happened by accident. I just went to Michigan State because I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I took a plant class, and
Just
look what happened.
Huh?
I know.
Wow. Yeah.
Freshman year.
Oh my goodness, how fun though.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good opportunity, and then through the course of education, you could go two ways: either more the design build route, which is what I'm doing, or more of working for commercial clients for a landscape architecture firm. And I was a landscape laborer all through college, and I really enjoyed it. And I love to be outside. I'm creative. So I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And here we are.
How fun. And it sounds like you have a variety of different clients and different things that you work on too.
Yeah. Commercial, residential, you bet.
Right. And I know that program is pretty intense. One of my roommates was in a program like that at State.
Yeah.
He had bags of dirt on his desk that he had to identify the different.
That's so funny. And I mean, a big thing with us was model building. Like they expected hours. Like there was one project, they're like, you will be here for 30 hours. And I'm like, well, you might be, but I've also got to work. So right. I'll do my best.
Yep. Yeah. So to that vein though, if someone has a yard and they want that consultative approach that they're like, hey, I don't know where to start. How does that process work with you?
So we do charge for consultations, which some people would prefer getting to know me a little bit before they take that step. And you can book a consultation on our website or call our company or email. But if you're interested in to try it before you buy it, I do offer as a free service if someone wants to send pictures as well as an address, because I will Google Earth and see how you're like what ways north. That's a big factor, is sunlight and wind patterns, to offer a proper suggestion. So we do offer that as a free service to kind of give a warm up or even a 15-minute Zoom or phone call. But we haven't seen that a lot. Most people, they're sick of not getting a call back. So they're like, well, if I can go ahead and book on her website, I'm going to move forward with this investment. And we do have if you feel like the time was a total waste, you get your money back. So, but what I do is I'll meet with the prospect at their home, walk the property, and take a look and offer as many suggestions as I can. And then from that appointment, we decide, okay, are we going to go a sketch route, which is a no-scale sketch, kind of just for someone to see like an aerial idea, or maybe see their house with a sketch of the plants in front of it, like a little overlay. Or do we go that scaled plan, rendered print, so you can see everything to scale, and then propose the services on top of that. So you can kind of see, okay, this is X amount, this is X amount. And I think it's really important to provide that quote with the visual representation, because we do what we value. And if a tricolor beech, for instance, if that's a $1,300 tree, we could also do a really nice red maple canopy tree for $700. So it's like, it just depends where the value is as to what kind of plants we choose, what kind of products we look at.
Right. And I think having that knowledge is just huge because it allows you to really customize that experience to that person.
Absolutely. And it's all what we value. So it just depends, where do you want to spend your money? And I mean, definitely in your instance, you're probably working with people that are like, okay, I need to get this house on the market. What do I have to do? Maybe we just take out large shrubs. Maybe that's enough, you know?
Right.
So
absolutely, because it makes such a huge impact. And I think, we'll touch on it a little bit later, but curb appeal. I mean, the landscaping around the house is a huge part of that.
And it's your home. It's a reflection of you. So I think people want to make it look nice.
Fill up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And as part of that consultative process, I love landscaping, but I also don't like to do a ton of work. Like, I don't want to be out there weeding all the time and such.
Sure.
How much of that is sitting down and talking with them and seeing, kind of what they like or what they're able to maintain? Because I think maintaining is a big part of landscaping, right?
Absolutely it is. And that comes, that's the first conversation we have is, okay, if you want this design, or like contemporary is really hot right now. So it's clean lines, square. Most lawn companies will not cooperate with a square bed. So that's the conversation we have is, are you going to mow the lawn yourself? Because if not, then we want around this bed because that's going to come into maintenance. So that's just one conversation. But another would be, are we going to look at rock versus mulch? If you are going to do mulch, highly recommend a pre-emergent before the mulch goes down. Some people are not pro pesticide or chemical, and I totally get that. But that product applied properly will allow the weeds to not germinate for up to 3 months if you use a commercial product. And we've seen very large success with that with our maintenance clients.
Wow.
Fantastic. See, and that's, I think each person is so different in terms of what their comfort level is and what they're willing to do themselves. And
you bet.
Yep. So one of the things on that, I mean, people think about their landscaping in terms of the seasons of the year and do I want my color in spring? Do I want my color in fall? I guess my question is, how does someone go about all of that? Like, we just moved into a house last year, and the most interesting thing about it is every week was a new adventure of, I wonder what's happening in my yard today. So I think, one of the things I'm just wondering about that is, what goes into that process in terms of, looking at that budgeting for that type of thing?
A large factor is the deer. So do we have a deer population?
Yeah. Wow.
Do we not? Because that's a Michigander thing.
Yeah.
It's a big one. So if we have that, then it's kind of layering the plant. So what I start with first is, if I'm doing a full landscape, is looking at the front of the home. And I either will say, okay, are we going to have our evergreen like low evergreen, or are we going to have a hedge close to the house? So let's get the evergreen established first. And then from there, I'll stack colors. And it depends on heights, how big you, like, some people want to have privacy areas in certain areas and some people want to see completely out. So with that, like for instance, in the spring, so what I do is just kind of take an overall look, like what plants do you like, and then kind of fill in the gaps. Because sometimes people have plant allergies too, and it can be as like simple as lavender, but we have had a few clients last year that were allergic to bees, but they love flowers. So in that instance, we stack reds because bees see red as black. So they can still enjoy their beautiful flowers as long as they like red. So in that instance, with the red clients, we pick like a red peony as close, because that's the spring flower. There's also a Korean spice. The buds, it's a viburnum, and that's earlier than the peonies. But that is a red bud that opens white. So it's still a lower bee population because it's in the spring. But then we would look at roses to take the summer, late summer, Cocosmia. I might be butchering that Latin name. But then just kind of looking at other asters into the fall, and then evergreen for the winter. So hopefully I covered that.
Well, no, and that's really interesting because, I never thought about that in terms of, do you have deer in the area?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Or are you allergic to bees?
Or are you allergic to bees? Because
Yes.
so often, I think for the common person, they go to, Lowe's or Home Depot or, and they're just like, that looks pretty.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And not thinking about the aspect of what that means to themselves, or the other plants.
And even zoning of the plants, that's a big deal. It depends if people have irrigation systems or not, if I ask that question. But to make sure that you have wet feet loving plants next to other wet feet loving plants, because certain plants like roses, they like to be dry. They like to be bone dry. They like a lot of heat versus like a dogwood shrub that can take a lot of water. And we use those in a lot of rain gardens because they absorb a lot of water. So, but they can also take a little bit of drought. So it's something to look at with that too. When you're picking plants from Home Depot, look at the tag and see what the soil moisture recommendation is.
Wow. And I think that's so interesting because I've never thought about this in this aspect. So with us being in real estate, we've had friends or clients before that they get into a house and the garden and the yard is beautiful. And a year and a half later, it's not beautiful anymore. How much of that is that they just didn't know what plants they had to take care of it, that they're watering too much or they're not watering enough?
Absolutely. Or fertilizer, that's a big one too. And pruning, different pruning measures, it all adds up.
Wow. So we're on your website in that landscaping ecology. Could you tell us a little bit about that then?
Yeah, ecology is everything in the plant's environment. It's the deer, it's the sunlight, it's the wind, it's the water, all of that. You're not going to win. Like no matter what, if I want a cacti in my front yard and my shade yard, it's not going to look good because I don't have enough sun and I have a tendency to overwater. Right. So it's just taking a look at the environment and picking the best plants. And sometimes we need to do a soil test. I've done a lot of soil tests and I've not shown any other results than 12 fertilizer. So, which is wonderful. I'm glad to not have any other crazy things like excavate 3 feet of dirt or lead toxicity or something like that. But definitely a $40 soil test is a good investment to add to just taking an inventory analysis of your home surroundings, your commercial property, so we pick the right plants.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, because I imagine just that selection is probably the biggest battle, because if you put the wrong item in, doesn't matter what you do with it. It's not going to work out.
Like, I don't remember which one of our kids it was, but they were like, we want an orange tree. We're like, that's not going to happen.
Right. Summer. Yeah. And if you have a grow light inside, perfect.
Right.
But no, not just outside of Michigan.
Right.
Yeah. So in terms of any other advice, because spring is right around the corner now.
It is.
For, when, as we're talking now. Any advice to people as they're going to prepare for spring?
Think about spring now. I work in the trades. I have lots of other friends that work in the trades in different sectors, and they are seeing the same volume of clients interested for spring right now or interested in work to book for the summer for my builder friends. So get on the schedules because the good contractors are going to be limited to get for that graduation party, for instance.
Right.
So, and we're very blessed. We're so happy to have this because that volume of people really helps us plan and it gives us buying power for certain things, which is awesome. And hiring, we do plan on hiring 2 people at a minimum, but we're also realistic. So as we're building our schedule assuming we're having that team of 4 and 4 total. And if we can bump people up, then that's what we do. We'll bump people up as the talent comes in.
Fantastic. Wow. That's great.
Now, in terms of spring and people wanting to like, hey, I want to plant trees, I want to, is there a better timing? Like how early can you put things in or, when people are starting to plan out to say, I'm going to do X this year?
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking at. Like for patios, we really need the frost to be out of the ground. So usually a good time for that is around end of April is pretty safe, but sometimes it's May if we have 3 weeks of rain, which can happen. But for tree plantings, that depends on what type of tree you're planting. Some trees do better. A lot of evergreens are really good to plant in the fall, but some are spring. And if I'm talking to someone now and they're interested in tree planting, let's get those suckers in the ground. That's what I always say. Like, we're not going to wait till fall. unless if there's an inventory issue, because some trees specifically are only a fall dig or only a spring dig. So you want to make sure, and by saying that, it's an industry term that if it's a spring dig, that means they're only harvested in the spring at the tree farms. So that means you can only get it at a certain amount of time. So that's good for me to know in advance, because then maybe we put this piece, if we're looking at a budget situation, maybe we put this piece of the spring dig trees ahead of others, for instance.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense in terms of just time management to be able to do the right thing. It's not just people's schedules you're working with, it's the plants themselves, their schedules.
Yeah, it's the environment. You never know.
Yeah.
You mentioned, in terms of indoor plants, and that's something that I think you're getting into as well, right?
Yeah, and it's a slow start, I feel like anything new, it takes about 3 months to kind of put it out there on social media and be loud about it. I'm a very small person. I've always had to be loud. So by being loud, I just tell everyone how excited I am about it. And we did purchase a live wall. So the company is Live Wall, and they have a patented system for those green walls that you see at doctor's offices and commercial spaces. So we're really excited. It's about 5 by 7 feet, and it's on wheels. So once it grows in, which should be in a couple months, it does take some time to grow in, then we are going to put it around in different Brighton and Howell businesses so people can kind of get an idea, because I'm in such a visual industry. If I don't have this sample to show people, to showcase, I don't think it'll take off in this area. And with the indoor plantings, there's a demand in Lansing, there's a demand in the greater Detroit area, and I really think it just takes someone like me to bring it to Livingston County. So I'm excited about it. And it's not just the live walls, but it's also, the trio of plants, the tabletop plants, ways people can customize their desks. And plants have the power. They reduce stress. They can increase your employees' productivity. They're great noise buffers, clean the oxygen. I mean, the list goes on.
Right. Well, and I think sometimes with like any other trend, I think about when I was much younger, and I think I saw indoor plants and such a lot more than what I see now.
Well, certainly as we go through people's houses, and whether it's for listing appointments or showings, we tend to be in more people's houses than most people. And I'll tell you, there aren't a lot of plants.
Sure.
We did see a palm tree that had to stay with the house because it was a 2-story vaulted living room.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And they
couldn't get it out.
They couldn't get it out. They're like,
I believe it.
Do you want a palm tree because it's stained?
Right.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of history, and it was very old, and I think it was a miracle that they even got it in to begin with. But
that's so awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to my next property when I can have that vaulted ceiling and have a 15-foot bird of paradise. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Exactly. Hey,
I know. We'll be in touch. Yeah, for sure.
But to that point, maybe people aren't even really thinking about it, but there's so many neat things you can do, and great things, especially here, Michigan, winter, snow. At that point in time, how wonderful would it be to have just that little bit of nature inside? We need that.
Yeah, and my daughter loves it because I have plants in her room, and it's like a little fairy garden, and she moves she's 3 years old. She moves the little fairy garden pieces from different pots, and she loves it. And that's part of what I do is community, and just teach these young people, because this is life. There's so much more, and you can play with the plants. So, and for her, she's a little spoiled because we do have a basement greenhouse, so she's always mixing stuff up and repotting things. So she has fun with that. She has an interesting childhood.
Well, and I think seeing that green in the middle of January, February
when it's
is
just
a big
white.
thing. Right.
No. Or it's white now, thankfully. I'd rather have white over mud.
Yes.
So. This is true. It's Michigan. We have all of that, right?
Yeah, I'm good with the white.
So with you going and seeing so many different houses in the landscape and such, do you see that there's trends that move in and move out? What are you seeing that's, kind of on its way out right now, or that new next popular thing?
What's really hot right now is contemporary. People really like that cocoa pebble, like the large the Mexican pebbles. They're extremely expensive. They're like the most expensive rock products. So usually when we look at that, I provide an alternate. But it's the different rocks and the contemporary, the plants with architecture, like the crocosmia. It's it's been fun to experiment with those plants and to group them and zone them properly, because especially with rock, it's hot. It puts a lot of heat on the roots. So for right now, contemporary is big, as well as the large tile sizes on the patios.
Yeah.
So the large tiles, and people want like 16 by 18 or 18 by 24. So it's big stuff. Like
wow.
we have to use a vacuum because we wouldn't be able to lay it down properly without our guys killing themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, holy cow.
So, which makes for a fun project.
And when something is dated, what makes it dated or out of style in landscaping?
The big thing that I see with the dated is the overgrown shrubs. And sometimes if we just take a couple shrubs out, that can make a huge transformation. So when I go into properties and they're looking for a quick, cost-effective, what can we do for $1,500? Let's remove the shrubs. But as far as dated with the patios, are definitely the carousel patterns, which are those circle kits. It just is. No one wants those anymore. So usually that comes into play when someone purchases a home and they're like, I just can't live with this. And it's because they're seeing all these beautiful backyard oasis pictures.
Fresh and modern.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what people want now.
Right. Well, one of the things that I see sometimes are these hedges where we go into a house and they've let the hedge grow so big that now it's impossible to cut it back. And I think a lot of people
take it out.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize if you don't take care of it, at some point it becomes unmanageable.
And some plants can be what I call rejuvenated. Like spirea, you can cut those suckers down to a little baby shrub, and in the spring they'll look beautiful. But boxwoods and yews, not successfully can those be drastically rejuvenated. They'll just be twigs. So.
That makes sense. Yeah, because there are so many boxwood, I feel like.
Yeah, but dogwoods and other plants, some can do good. So burning bush are a wonderful plant. You can cut those down half, and they look beautiful. But not evergreens, mostly.
Right, right. And I know we were talking a little bit about before we came in, but with us being in real estate, I think one of the biggest things that people don't realize a lot of times is just how important your curb appeal is. In terms of, one, you said earlier, it's a reflection of your house. It's a reflection of you.
It is.
So take some pride in that and learn how to take care of it. But at the same time, if someone's looking to list their house or sell their house, a lot of times they don't realize how important that is as well, because
it's just critical.
First impressions are lasting. So.
And in terms of for us, whether we sit down with the seller and we're making them a honey-do list of the things that need to get in order here, or even just, for people who are not selling, how that front of the house looks is just, it's everything.
Yeah. And then speaking with you guys before this, I couldn't believe that it's so paramount. And maybe it's just because I look at things and I'm like, oh, I'll just take all this out and I'll demo that. And I remember our realtor saying, she's like, when she showed us houses back way 10 years ago when we bought our house, she's like, I know if there's like pipes in the house, you guys would just knock out the walls. So it was just one of those things that was like, we just needed a parcel,
right?
With like utilities to it. But a lot of people aren't like that, I guess.
No.
And they don't want to modify. Yeah.
Right. Have a hard time envisioning.
Exactly.
Sure.
So what we tell our sellers a lot of time is buyers, by their nature, they really want to be right. Everyone wants to be right. You never want to be wrong, right? So if you're getting out of your car and you see a front yard that isn't taken care of and everything is overgrown and there's
the
weeds
bushy,
in the cracks and everything, well, then you have a mindset of, this doesn't look good. There's something wrong with this. I don't like this house. You walk through the front door and every little thing in the house that's not exactly right is another reminder of, that's why I didn't like this house.
That's so crazy to me.
But
you guys see it every day,
right.
so it's got to be true.
Yeah, you have this beautiful front yard.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this is picture perfect.
Sure.
I want to live here. You walk through the front door and it's like, well, I can look past these little things because I'm happy.
They've already decided that the house looks so beautiful. Everyone wants to live in a beautiful home. If you're going to be moving, you're not going to move into something that's like, you're going to move into something that you can be excited about.
Right. And that's why a good landscaper is so important. Yes. And one of the things I wanted to ask about is lighting. Because I guess I don't realize how important lighting is, because I think about, oh, it looks nice during the day, but what happens when the sun starts to go down?
Yeah, and I mean, especially if you have an outdoor oasis, like we're seeing right now people with these outdoor living rooms. So it's not just the pool, but it's the fire pit area, it's the deck area. So it's important to have them illuminated because you want to be able to use your outdoor spaces for more than 8-12 hours a day in the peak of summer. If you can do the lighting, or if it's something that you can afford to add, we always talk about lighting with the first consultation, or rather during the design process. And I usually add it. It's a very easy thing for people to cross off if they're looking at a phase project. But the LED lights are wonderful, long lasting. The bulbs last up to 10 years. I don't know anyone who messes with incandescent anymore in the industry.
Right.
But we also have color changing technology, which can be really fun. If you have a birthday party or like Alzheimer's awareness, you can change them all to purple. And something that we did figure out with a color install last fall is there's a setting where you can go through the whole spectrum. So it's like a rainbow twirl on each light, which is hilarious. So it's like a disco party.
Right. Now, do you work with solar then as well, or do you?
We do not work with solar. And there is a solar add-on on transformers that we could use that is supposed to like switch your lights on when it gets dark. But we have found that street lamps can really affect that. So we just use an analog timer, or there are smart plugs, which are really attractive to people. You can do everything on your phone.
Got you.
So.
Yep, in this day and age, I feel like, the thermostat's on it.
The apps.
No, they all want smart. They want to be able to do the whole thing from their phone.
Yep, and if you're at the airport, that makes it nice. You can put your lights on and come home. So
wow.
There's a lot of options.
That's really good.
Makes a difference,
And I noticed you mentioned that outdoor oasis and such, but we are seeing a lot more of that where people are putting kitchens in their backyard almost. Like it's
almost like a necessity, especially if you have kids. Like it's incredible to us, the projects that are coming through, and people are spending more time at home, especially in times of COVID. Right. I mean, we definitely saw a surge, and it's continuing because with this, like last year, I think a lot of people thought, okay, I'm ahead of the game. It's March. And then they called people and they were already booking into fall. So I think that's why we're seeing quite a volume in the landscape sector of clients that are ready to talk now because they were missed last year and they want to get on the calendar.
Exactly. And one of the other things I think is during COVID is people by necessity were spending more time at home. Yes. But then they realized that if I'm going to be spending time here, I really want to enjoy it. And then as they improve their home, they realize, wow, I've been missing something in my life that I wasn't taking care of the home, or I didn't have the things here that made it special to me.
Yeah. And I mean, life, you guys know you have kids. I feel like when you have kids, you just see it because it's like, boom, they're grown now, but time just gets away from you. And I think that, when everything was shut down, or for most people, it just really, okay, let's slow down and take a look at what's going on. And then people converting now to working from home, and they need those spaces.
Spending more time at home.
Yeah.
Which pets love.
Yeah, absolutely. And the increase of pet ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But basically within that, even, it's so hard to travel now that feels like people are taking some of those dollars that would have otherwise gone to those different segments and just pouring it into the house and just finding a way to live their best life. And really enjoy their home and pull up and have it be beautiful, have it be the house that they fell in love with when they first
get on
bought
that grill and go in the tub.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
Absolutely. And in terms of Livingston County, I like to ask every single guest, what's your favorite thing about Livingston?
I really like the conservative values as a whole. And it's a wonderful place to grow a family, to be an entrepreneur, and to be successful. And the downtowns are beautiful. And I'm talking specific to Howell and Brighton. I really like the downtowns. And there's always activities. There's always things going on. And I love how Brighton has that fun banner. And it's like, there's something going on this weekend, because there's something going on, it feels like, every weekend.
Right.
So this is definitely our home, and I plan on staying here.
Community spirit.
Absolutely.
I've seen that the downtown communities have really taken off in the last 10 years. I mean, that there's so much more activity than there used to be. That, like you said, there's always something happening.
And the mill pond now being redone. Oh my gosh. It's it's a great community, and it's definitely, because when we started the company, we weren't sure. I'm from the Lansing area. If we were my husband and I were gonna go back home, and after a lot of reflection, it's like, no, we're home. This is our home, so we're happy to stay.
That's awesome, and that's what we love about our podcast. I mean, everybody has a different answer because there's so many awesome things about Livingston County that it's really remarkable.
Yeah, it's been really rewarding for us to work here and start the company here. And we're excited for what the future might bring.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know so much about landscaping and small businesses and such is word of mouth. Absolutely. A lot of people there, again, I said at the beginning, they have no idea where to start. Yep. So if someone was going to get started with you, how do they get in contact with you? How do they start that process, or where do they find out more about you?
Sure. They could always start at our website, turnerdesignmi.com. And on there's an online booking tool. So if you wanted to schedule that consultation free of charge, the 15-minute Zoom, you can attach a couple pictures, or you can just say, yep, I'm ready to do this, and sign on for the full consultation. You have those opportunities within our website, but you can also email at sales@turnerdesignmi.com. You can call us, 800-570-0675. Facebook and Instagram, we're on there too.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Yes, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Learning more about landscape and design for Turner Design Group.
Yeah, so for all of you listening out there, please check out our other podcasts. You can like us on Apple, Spotify. You can just Google Welcome to Livingston Podcast, or again, find us on either our Facebook page, Welcome to Livingston, or on the Putkela group on Facebook as well. So Instagram,
Twitter, and you name it.
all of those things, yes. Or just give us a call at 1-800-PUTKELA, and we can...
1-888.
1-888-PUTKELA, thank you. And we can definitely get you in touch with our guests. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Trisha.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Welcome to Livingston.